So I'll do my best to raise the issue of how fundamental water is to the universe. Hi, Celeste. Water worlds full of H2O, hydrogen, and oxygen. Young stars like the sun have lots of hydrogen, lots of helium, and lots of oxygen. As they evolve, though, that oxygen combines with the hydrogen, making water, which means basically every single young hot star out there has the elemental capacity to form huge water oceans. And they're really hot and really bright, and as they cool, the water forms internally. But about here, I would say the star becomes more or less an ocean world, and there are lots of them. This is an older paper, September 1st, 2018, when I wrote this one. I'll read out a little bit of it for you guys. Abstract. Since the dogma has no method for determining how many water worlds are in the Milky Way galaxy, an method is given using the assumptions garnered by stellar metamorphosis. In this theory, water or ocean worlds are highly evolved stars that are very old, much older than the stars that shine. The estimate used for stars that shine is 200 billion, and a max age for shining stars is 300 million years old. So I'm taking stars that shine in the galaxy in the Milky Way to be around 200 billion of them. And a max age for shining stars at 300 million years is the point to where they stop shining. As well, you have 300 to 600 million years old is when they're mostly gaseous and the water is too hot, which means it's not exactly, it's too energetic to become a water world because the water has to condense into a liquid internal to the star. And I have a little list here of all the water worlds in blue. So you have the red ones; those are the ones that are hot and shining and bright. The green ones, which are more evolved, gaseous. The water is too hot to condense into liquid. And as that water condenses, around 600 million years old, the object becomes a water world internally. So I would expect Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus to be essential water worlds in their interiors. But as well, I would guess they're more gas giants as well. But I think they're making those transitions to water worlds. I think there's a hell of a lot of water inside of Neptune and Uranus for sure. Those are essentially water worlds inside their interiors. Neptune being about 1.2 billion years old, and Uranus being about Uranus about 1.2, Neptune about 1.1 billion years old. And they're young water worlds, so age in millions, 900 to 1200, it'd be about right here. And in our galaxy, there are around 200 billion of those objects. So we're talking a lot of water out there. But those are early stages of water worlds. You have much later stages of water worlds, and I have here the total estimated water worlds is about 6.4 trillion. So we're talking a lot of water in the galaxy. Naturally, if you have all that water, then when we design spaceships in the future, we should keep in mind that we're probably going to be coming in contact with a lot of these places. And it would be very helpful because the water world, the pressure inside of one will be a lot less than the gas giant stage star. So maybe like intermediate age water world, the pressure will be a lot lower, which means if we take a spacecraft, we can enter into the water world and sort of dunk our spaceship in there, and it can be protected from a host star's radiation or interstellar cosmic rays and that kind of stuff. As well, it's a very good place to hide. I know Commander David Fravor, who was flying that F-18, I think it was, the Hornet. When he saw some of those ETs that were flying in that Tic Tac, and Tic Tac was darting left and right above a much larger craft that was underneath the surface of the water. He was like, oh crap, there's a even larger, it was like a cross-shaped craft underneath the surface of the water. And he had mentioned that that's what he had saw, what's what he's seen. So what I'm taking that as being is that, yeah, that's probably an ET civilization that got here from their other star system, but they know how many water worlds are out there, so their craft were essentially designed to be able to handle the salt, which is a corrosive substance inside of the water, as well the pressure. So they could get here in their spaceship, and then spaceship eventually goes underneath the surface, and they can hide in the ocean. And it makes it very difficult for that star's host species to find them. It's very hard to find things that are, squeeing about in the ocean. That's why nuclear submarines are so dangerous, and why the U-boats back in World War II were so dangerous. Because once you get underneath the water, that water makes it very difficult for enemy to detect you and to kill you. But anyways, I think that's going to be the future with us. We're going to need to design craft that can be submersed inside of water, and so I think that's an overall good idea. Okay, I went on a tangent on that, but yeah, the water worlds, there are lots of them out there. I would say maybe Earth mass, up to like 2 or 3 Earth masses are the ones that we're gonna be exploring. I don't know, I'm not too sure how much life is on those objects. I'm pretty sure though it's going to be similar to Earth's beginning life, where there's going to be large, I think they're called placoderms. They look like huge beaked fish. I don't know if you want to look up pictures of those things. They're kind of creepy looking. And various other swimming creatures swimming around, like megalodon with their, looks like a giant great white shark. But I'm sure a lot of that kind of life is out there. But if it's an ocean world, I wouldn't worry about people like us. So there's definitely going to be a lot of safety in just finding an ocean world, as long as you can protect the craft from random creatures swimming around. I don't see any issue with that. And another note, I remember an earlier paper I wrote, this is completely tangential to that, of how many objects the establishment is going to classify as a planet based off of what they consider a planet to be. Unfortunately, their actual count is going to become more superfluous or unnecessary as time goes on, because the vast majority of planets are shining, and the astronomers call them stars. The majority of the planets that we have found are you can directly image them, and those are the ones up here. The trick is finding the ones that no longer shine, and I think it's going to be a challenge for scientists to accept that fact that the vast majority of stars no longer shine that are in our galaxy, because, well, the galaxy's ancient. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And young stars that shine are young. So we're only seeing the very newest stars when we look up at the night sky. But astronomers, they sort of place the young stars that shine as being as old as the stars that no longer shine, which is really strange. So I essentially see this graph not really being updated that much. This is from the NASA website. 2020's numbers of the amount of exoplanet detections. This is the number of detections right here, 500, 1,000, 1,500. And you'll notice transit is in green. These are the transits that the Kepler found, most of the transits. TESS hasn't even made a dent in it, even though TESS is vastly more able than the Kepler. And those numbers haven't even reached 2007's numbers, and it's already the middle of 2020. What's going on here, fellas? Ladies, gentlemen, what's going on here? Why is the most advanced telescope in modern history not outclassing Kepler's discoveries by many magnitudes already. I guess they're sort of dragging their feet. But what I think is actually happening is that the discoveries are going to be superfluous, because they're going to realize what I've realized back in 2012, that the majority of planets, they shine. They're right here. And they've mislabeled them stars due to outdated ancient Greek definitions for planet and wandering star. But all right, guys, I think I made this little talk long enough. I'm interested to see what happens over the next couple years. I mean, I'm sort of slowed down considerably in development of this theory, but it's definitely still out there and unmistakably, well, something that came out of my brain, because I can't find anything else similar to this except for a little bit of Bruzo stuff, and I've been searching for a lot of other people's writings on it, but there's only like a sentence or two max where they, claim that the Earth was the ancient star at one point. But besides that, it's the information doesn't even exist anywhere. So I did my best to make it exist. All right, guys, later.